Once a cheater, always stays a cheater. It was Monday morning, and we were sitting at the kitchen table. We had finished breakfast, and I was drinking my coffee and reading the morning paper. My wife, B, said, "Could you put the paper down, Rob? I need to talk to you." I put the paper down on the table. "I'm leaving you, Rob. I want a divorce." "That's it?" I picked up the paper again and started reading the sports section. "I'm serious, Rob. I ignored her and she got flustered. Rob, put that paper down and talk to me." "What?" "About what? I've got nothing to say but goodbye. It's not such a big loss. Anyway, you've been worthless as a wife for over a year now. So go." I put the paper aside, got up, and went to the room I was using as my home office. I grabbed a notepad and pen from my desk and pulled an envelope from one of the drawers. I went back to the kitchen table, sat down, and on the top sheet of the notepad I wrote, "Tom, thank you, and thank God she's leaving me." I was about to put it in an envelope, but then a thought occurred to me. I pulled out of my wallet one of the lottery tickets I had bought the night before and put it in the envelope. Then I added to my note, "Maybe if you get lucky and win, it will be enough to keep the cheating girl happy with you so she won't go out and cheat again. Good luck, man. You're going to need it." I signed. "Very grateful, Rob." I folded the sheet, put it in an envelope, sealed it, wrote the address on it, and handed it to Beatrice. "When you see him, give him this." She took it, and with a shocked expression on her face said, "Do you know? Just because you think I'm ignorant doesn't mean I really am." "Perhaps," I said, taking the envelope from her. "I'll mail it. I don't believe you won't open it, read it, and then throw it away. Now, why don't you go and pack your things and get out of my life? And since you're going to leave, you need to get out of the house as soon as possible." "I'm sure I'm not leaving. There's no way I'm leaving here just so you can put your lover in here." I got up, poured coffee into a travel mug, refilled it, and headed off to work. On the way, I stopped by the bank, closed my savings and current accounts, and took the contents of our safe. I then went to a bank closer to work and opened new accounts in my name only. Next, I called and canceled all of our joint credit cards and arranged for new cards in my name only, and then I went about my daily work. I stayed late after work, had dinner and drinks with my executive assistant, and told her I was back on the market if her sister was still interested. Stella laughed and said, "To hell with my sister. If you're available again, I want to be first in line." Stella started with me as a secretary 10 years ago and proved so valuable that 4 years ago I promoted her to my assistant, and then, to justify the promotion I felt she deserved, I made her my executive assistant. 2 years ago on a Sunday, I had a backyard barbecue and invited Stella over. She told me she couldn't make it because her sister was in town visiting, so I suggested she bring her sister. Her sister Tara was a sexy-looking and very busty blonde, and on Monday, Stella laughingly told me that Tara had a crush on me. I laughed and told her never to tell B about it because B could be, and sometimes really was, insanely jealous. And now Stella was telling me she was interested in me. I never had any idea that she could have had thoughts like that. "Okay," I said jokingly. "Then Tara moves into second place, and you can take first." "I'm not joking at all, boss. I'm dead serious as hell. I want to try." "Stella, but you might not agree when you hear what I have to offer." "What's that?" "B told me she wants a divorce, so I'm leaving it up to her and her lover, and I have no idea what their schedule might be." "Her lover?" "She hooked up with a guy about a year and a half ago, and I think she finally decided that a couple days a week with him wasn't enough, so she decided to go full-time." "How long have you known?" "A year and a half. I knew almost from the day it started." "How did it happen?" "A friend of mine saw her entering a motel room with a man and called me. I put a private investigator on B for a week, and he got me everything I needed to know." "A year and a half, and you did nothing about it?" "What was I supposed to do? Get mad about it and turn my life upside down?" "Divorce is no fault in this state. Everything would have to be split in half. and I would have to sell the house and split the proceeds with her. I'd have to give up the pool, hot tub, my woodworking shop, and 3-car garage and move into some apartment. No thanks. I decided to just ignore it and let her cook for me, do my laundry, and clean the house. How could you be around her knowing she was cheating on you? You'd be surprised how quickly love can turn to hate, and then hate turns to indifference. I can't believe a healthy guy like you could go a year and a half without love. Why no love? As long as B offered, I took, and she continued, although the frequency was somewhat reduced. I didn't touch her on the days I knew she was with him, but other than that, the only change was that I stopped making love and started just having sex. Do you have any idea why she did that? I have no idea, but it probably wasn't the first one. Do you think she had other lovers? I can't know for sure, but what I do know is that in the 10 years we've been married, she's been in a certain mood 4 times that I can remember. 4 times she's acted the way she's acted the last year and a half she's been involved with this guy. That's just a guess on my part, but I'd almost bet that the other times it was for the same reason. If she hadn't been seen and I hadn't been warned, I'd take the recent moodiness as another one of those girl things. I may be wrong in my thinking, but it doesn't really matter. I know about the cheating for sure, and that's all I need to know to realize she's a cheater. What are you going to do now? I'm going to wait. Wait? For what? See what she's going to do. She's on her own now. I cleaned out her bank accounts, canceled all her credit cards, and told her to get out of the house. She wanted a divorce, so I'm leaving that up to her. Since she doesn't make enough to support herself and still be able to pay a lawyer, she will have to get money for a lawyer from her lover, and I don't know if he will give it to her. I assume they discussed it before she hit me with it, but I have no way of knowing. My point is, if you're really interested in me, you'll be involved with a married man who has no idea how long it will be before he gets divorced. You're thinking wrong, Rob. How's that? If she files for divorce, she's in control. You'll be served. And it could be bad. You have no idea what she can do. They could order you to vacate the house and leave it to her pending a hearing. What if she files a report and says it's because of mental and physical abuse and gets a restraining order keeping you away from her and the house? You gotta set the pace, boss. You gotta be in the driver's seat. Make her react, not the other way around. Besides, you're gonna be a big help to me. Help you? How? If you're going to wait and let her apply, what if she doesn't? What if her lover won't give her the money to do it? That would put us in the position of adultery, and she can use that against you somewhere in the future. You say she cheated, and she says, so what? So are you. If you file, you are saying that from your point of view, the marriage is dissolved, and what you do from that point on is none of her business. From a strictly legal standpoint, you will still be legally married until the divorce is final, and contacting me would technically still be considered adultery, but no court would use that against you unless it started before you filed for divorce from B. So, apparently, I need to stay away from you until you or B starts the legal process. If we wait for her, it could take years, or maybe just a week, but under her control. If you file, you can meet with your lawyer early tomorrow and serve B by Thursday, and that gives me the weekend to work on hooking you up. Hook me up? I'm damn straight, boss. What good is being first on the list if you don't take advantage? She was right, and I knew it. So I pulled out my cell phone and used speed dial to call Josh. Josh and I had been friends since 3rd grade, and Josh was an attorney who practiced family law. Family law was a polite term for divorce law. When he answered, I told him I needed his legal services, and I told him my problem. He was sorry to hear this because he and his wife Sally were our friends, and he liked B. But he told me he would take care of it as soon as he got to his office in the morning, and then asked me to stop by his office at lunchtime. I could sign the papers and we could go to lunch. Then, just to be an asshole, I told him I wanted to get a restraining order. I lied and told him that B had told me that if I got her in any trouble for leaving me, she would make sure her lover, Tom Noble, set my brains right. Josh laughed and told me that he knew it was pure nonsense, but that he would do it. You know there's a hearing on this order within 10 days, right? I can get it and serve it. But there has to be a hearing before the judge orders it stayed. I know, and I'm prepared for that. But right now, the main thing is to get her out of the house and keep her out for a while. We don't have kids, so there's no real reason for her to use the house while the divorce is going on. I stand by the principle of gun ownership is ownership of the law. There is no reason for a judge to order me to get out and let her in. That's what I'm striving for. I told her to get out when we talked this morning, but I don't know what I'll see when I get home. She could be gone, or she could still be there. Since I don't know for sure where she'll be, I plan to serve her at work. There's no chance you'll work something out with her? Not a chance. Then I'll see you tomorrow. I disconnected, looked across the table at Stella and asked, "What do you have planned for me this weekend?" She laid out her ideas and they seemed pretty good to me. When I got home, Bea was sitting in the kitchen at the table going through some papers. "Why are you still here?" I asked, walking over to the refrigerator and pulling out a beer. "This is my home, too. I'm staying here until I can make other arrangements. If you object to my company, feel free to move out." "And let you bring your lover here? No way in your life. Sit down and discuss what we're going to do." "There's nothing to discuss. I know what I'm going to do, and I don't give a shit what you're going to do." "There are things that need to be worked out, Rob." "No, Beatrice, there's no such thing. It's simple. You said you want a divorce, so go get one. You have to hire a lawyer. You have to file the papers and pay all the legal fees. What I will do is fight you tooth and nail over every little thing. We live in a no-fault state. Everything is split in half, so decisions will have to be made about who gets what as their half. I'm going to stall so your attorney's fees keep going up and up. You know they don't work for free, right? You want the coffee table? Well, guess what? I want that too. You want a couch? That's too bad, B. It has great sentimental value to me, and I just have to have it." "Why all of a sudden? You don't care about any of this. You didn't even show any emotion when I told you I wanted a divorce. All you did was tell me to pack my things and get out." That was before I had time to think about it. I looked her in the eye and took a chance. "I let you get away with it the first 3 times because you didn't want a divorce. I loved you enough to keep quiet and hold you because you kept coming back to me." She turned away from me when I said the first 3 times, which, as far as I could tell, confirmed what I suspected. "Now it's hard for me to say why I stayed with you, but I didn't get a divorce. I thought maybe I did something that really pissed you off, and you felt you had to do it to get back at me. Eventually, you would end your affairs, and I foolishly thought it was because you realized you loved me and that's why you were coming back to me." I looked down at the floor, and yes, shit was already on my shoes. I thought this whole thing with Noble was some sort of repeat of previous occurrences, but now I see I was wrong. I've come to realize that you're nothing but a low-life cheater, and if you hadn't decided to leave me for Noble and break things off with him, you'd be making love to someone else in 6 months or a year. After thinking about it, I decided I had to get revenge somehow. What I really want to do is take a thick belt and beat you with it so hard that your skin rips and you bleed out on the floor. But that would only send me to jail. The only thing I can do to stay out of jail is to make the divorce as difficult and expensive as I can for you." "You're right. This is also your home, and if you choose to stay, I should let you be here. But I don't have to like it, and I don't have to socialize with you. Move your stuff into one of the spare bedrooms and stay away from me." I finished my beer and then went upstairs to what used to be our bedroom and got ready for bed. I thought I had accomplished what I set out to do. I had given her food for thought, and she needed to talk things over with Noble and make decisions, and that would take time. Time that Josh would use to serve B and get a restraining order. I could be wrong. B may have already met with an attorney, and the paperwork may already be headed my way, but it's unlikely. I took the balances invested when I canceled the credit cards, and they were about what I expected. And when I took the cash out of the bank, they were also about what they should be. If B had gone to a lawyer, she would have used our money to pay him. Of course, Noble could pay the bill. All I could do was wait and hope Josh took the paddle first. I got up and left the house before B came out of her bedroom. I stopped for breakfast at a bed and breakfast, and while sipping my coffee, I made a list of who to call as soon as B was served. I wasn't going to let her make me out to be the bad guy. I would tell everyone about the divorce and explain to everyone why that was so. At work, Stella told me that she was really looking forward to the weekend, and I caught myself hoping it would happen. I met Josh for lunch and signed the papers. He said he would go to the city-county building after lunch and apply. You still want her serviced at work? Damn right I do. I'm thinking tomorrow around 10 to. Call me as soon as that happens. I want the locks on the house changed before she can come home. I went back to work and made arrangements for my next day off. Before I left the office, I called the locksmith and arranged for a quick service the next day. It cost me a little more, but I felt it was worth it. When I got home, B's car was in the driveway, but she must have decided to stay in her room and stay out of my way because I never saw her. I got up and left the house before B came downstairs and went to the bed and breakfast for breakfast. Angie asked me where B was. I've always seen you two together, and now you've been here 2 days in a row without her. You won't see us together again. We're splitting the blanket in half. I see, she said, taking my order. When she put the bill on the table, she said, My phone number is on the back. Not the restaurant's number. My number. I lost my voice as Angie walked away. 2 women in 2 days had let me know they were interested. So why wasn't I enough for the woman I married? I'll never know because I'll never ask. I drank coffee and read the morning paper, waiting for the time B usually left for work, and then I went home and started packing up B's things and moving them into the garage. At 10:15, I got a call from Josh saying the paperwork had been delivered, so I called a locksmith, and 20 minutes later he was doing his thing. Not an hour later, B flew into the driveway. She couldn't help but notice the wide-open garage door and the big cardboard sign that read, B, all your stuff is here in the garage. She stood there staring at the sign for a minute and then tried to get in, but of course her keys didn't work. She rang the doorbell, but I didn't answer, and eventually she left. I looked in the garage and saw that she had taken a couple bags of her stuff. 2 minutes after she pulled out of the driveway, my cell phone rang, and it was B. Hello? You asshole! Did you have to embarrass me in front of my co-workers? It's better than letting you embarrass me in front of mine. What the hell is this about a restraining order? I was afraid you were going to ask Noble to come and beat me up for being rude to you. That's bullshit, and you know it. I need to get in the house and get some stuff. All your stuff is in the garage, B, and I didn't change the garage door code, so your opener will work. If what you need isn't there, make a list and tell me where it is, and I'll move it to the garage. Stop screwing around, Rob. You're making this a lot harder than it needs to be. I'm sorry, B. Causing you some inconvenience isn't adequate payback for bullying me for years, but I have to do something, if only for the sake of my mental health. Just be thankful that I didn't get violent. Goodbye, B. After I disconnected from B, I got on my phone and started calling all the names on my list. Most were shocked to learn that B had cheated on me, but 2 weren't surprised. One said, Finally caught her, huh? And the other said, I always had the idea that you had one of those open marriage things. She was always dating some guy and you never said anything about it. I figured I could cross those 2 off my list of friends. B's parents were hurt the most by this information, and they tried to tell me that I must be wrong. I had always liked them, and they treated me almost like the son they never had, but I wasn't going to let B tell them and turn it around so that it was all my fault. If I let it happen, they would think badly of me, and I didn't want that. After resolving the call issues, I went through the house one more time looking for B's things and then made myself lunch. I had just finished eating when the guys from Apex Security showed up. Not trusting B in the slightest, and having absolutely no doubt that she would violate the restraining order and try to break into the house, I decided to install a security system in the house complete with cameras. On Thursday at work, I told Stella we were ready to go for the weekend. She smiled. Tomorrow night, then? Dinner and dancing? That's a start. I was smiling when I got home. B had done exactly what I had envisioned. She'd taken some of her things and then sneaked into the house through the adjoining door from the garage. She trashed the kitchen. There were plates and glasses smashed all over the floor, and she broke several lamps in the living room. The cameras caught it all. The picture of her taking all my clothes out of the closet, dumping them on the floor, and then squatting over them and peeing on them made me smile. All of this is recorded and shows that she not only violated the restraining order, but also engaged in maliciously destructive behavior. Evidence I could use at the injunction hearing. I called Josh, and he called the police. The police came, took a report and some pictures, and the next day, B was arrested at work and taken to jail. She was fingerprinted, photographed, and sat down in front of a judge. She was charged with violating a restraining order and willful destruction of private property. The judge set a hearing date and released B on her own recognizance, and frankly, I was surprised the case had gotten that far. My date with Stella went fun, and we set up a second date for Saturday. That went well, too, and we went on a picnic again on Sunday. Monday was the injunction hearing, and when the judge saw the security footage, he not only made the injunction permanent, but ordered B to replace all the destroyed items, pay for the dry cleaning of my clothes, and pay for the bedroom cleaning. He gave her 10 days to do this, or she would go to jail for contempt of court. Just to be an asshole, I hired the most expensive cleaning company I could find to do the job. Bay disappointed me. She actually got the money to do everything the judge ordered. I never waited for her to be held in contempt of court. The next 2 weeks passed, and Stella and I saw each other often, but nothing else happened except for a few kisses, sometimes quite intense, because neither of us felt comfortable with the fact that I was a married man. But we were slowly getting to the point where things took a serious turn. B didn't fight the divorce, and 6 months later it was final. It was a standard no-fault divorce where everything was divided equally. I refinanced the house and bought out B's portion. I was saving money in a separate account to pay for an unexpected trip around the world for our anniversary, and since she didn't know about it, I didn't give her a dime. She also didn't know about the last 2 certificates of deposit I'd put in the safe. I bought them with my last 2 bonus checks, and I had another small victory. B had alimony set for 2 years or until she remarried, but it was only set at $100 a week instead of the $500 she was trying to get. This was unexpected, and Josh told me it was because we were very lucky with the judges to whom my cases were assigned. The judge who attended the injunction hearing and the judge who oversaw the divorce were not only cousins who apparently discussed their cases, but both had cheating wives in the past. Neither of them believed that an innocent husband should be punished for the behavior of a cheating wife, and while they followed the law, they didn't go one step further than prescribed. Whatever B had with Noble obviously wasn't so great, because 7 months after the divorce was finalized, she was living with her parents. It was 8 months after the divorce became final, and I was sitting at the bar at the Hilton, drinking a beer and eating a steak sandwich for lunch, when someone sat down on the stool next to me and a voice asked, "Can I buy you a beer?" I looked over and saw my ex-wife's ex-lover. "I want to have a word with you," he said. Out of curiosity, I invited him to continue, and he waved to Agnes and ordered us both a beer. She brought them over, and he took a sip, set the glass on the counter and stared at it for a few seconds, then started peeling the label off the first bottle. When the little pile in front of him grew, he said, "I didn't want to screw this up for you." Without taking his eyes off the bottle, he continued, "The night I met her, she wasn't wearing wedding rings, so I didn't know she was married, and she certainly didn't act like a married woman. She was at Bud's bar with a group of girls she worked with, and I asked her to dance, and she said yes. I bought her a drink, and she invited me to sit with her and the other girls. I danced with her 3 more times and asked her out, and she said yes. I fell head over heels in love with her, and within a month, we were making love whenever we could get together. When we started out, we had to use motels because I shared an apartment with 2 roommates, and one of them was always around. We couldn't use her apartment because she said she lived with her disabled mother. That was also the reason we couldn't see each other more often. She was supposed to be taking care of her mother and could only go out when someone else was available to look after dear old Mom. I finally got my own apartment, so we didn't have to use motels anymore. And although our meetings were irregular, I had fallen in love with her and was going to ask her to marry me. I was going to buy a house big enough for her mother and me, but before I could pop the question, a guy I knew asked me why I was making love to a cheater. I was ready to kick his ass when he told me that B was married and cheating on her husband, and that it wasn't the first time. Apparently 2 years before that she had cheated on you with his brother. When his brother found out she was married, he broke up with her. I had a hard time believing it, but then I got your letter. I sat on it for a week, and then I confronted her face to face and she cried. She didn't love you. You, it turns out, were an abusive drunk, beating her physically and abusing her mentally. She hated you, but was afraid to leave you because you told her that if she ever did, you would hunt her down and kill her and whoever she was with. By then I had done some checking and realized she was lying and all thoughts of marrying her were gone, but she was a good girl and you kicked her out at that time, so I let her move in with me. As long as she was willing to sleep with me, everything was fine. But when the divorce was final and she started talking about marriage, I shot her down. My parents split up because my mom cheated on my dad. She got custody of me and later remarried, and then she was caught cheating on her second husband. She remarried a third time and cheated again. I'm a firm believer in the saying that once a cheater always stays a cheater, and I told B that. Told her that as long as she was good with the live-in friends with benefits relationship, we were fine, but no more than that. About 3 weeks after that, I came home from work and she was gone. He took another sip of his beer and said, "Rumor has it that you knew all along that she and I were doing this. Why did you let it go on and not divorce her right away? You said it yourself. She was a damn good girl. I figured to hell with it. I'd leave it alone and I'd have a wife and someone to cook and clean the house and do the laundry. Things probably would have stayed the same if she hadn't told me she was leaving me and wanted a divorce." He took another sip and then said, "I never thought I'd say this, much less to you, but I miss her in my bed." He finished his beer, stood up, took something out of his pocket, put it on the counter, and motioned it to me. "What's this?" "That lottery ticket you gave me. It's a winner. It's your half. I waited before giving it to you so you wouldn't have to give her half in the divorce. I'll see you later." And he walked away. I looked at the paper. It was a cashier's check for a large sum. A very, very large sum. When I got back to the office, Jean, my assistant, said, "You look like a cat that just ate the canary. Was the lunch that good?" Lunch was spectacular. Oh, it was. Jean, my assistant. Stella didn't work for me anymore, at least not in the office. She was at home painting the room that was going to be the nursery when the twins came. The end?